Hello, welcome and welcome back. Hey, butterflies and emerging butterflies. You guys know what today is. It is Thursday, and we are here on Vegas Hype Media for, that uncomfortable conversation. So it is still March. We are still speaking to women and their amazing journeys and everything that they do and what it all entails to be an amazing woman. But before we jump into that specifically, of course, I always want to thank my new subscribers, followers, those that leave comments. And those of you that don't, I want to encourage you to join the conversation. It gets really good and juicy. I have some new subscribers I want to welcome. Archimedes and Mr. Chester. I'm so excited to have some men join the conversation. Thank you guys so much. I do want to highlight a comment that Archimedes left. He was referencing the conversation with Miss Tasha, and that's the woman that spoke about the death of her son at 16. Archimedes said he loved that conversation, and he has to say the fact that women even get a special month to be celebrated says how much they appreciate women. And I'm guessing that means men appreciating women. He said fathers only get a single day, and that's not even all men. So as women, I guess we need to, celebrate that fact because we do get a whole month and then some other holidays is what he kind of pointed out. So thank you so much, Archimedes, for that comment. Then I want to go ahead and thank last week's guest, Miss Anna Lynn. That was so much to unpack and take in our hearts, all of the butterflies. We just wanted to wrap her with our wings because that was something. And it flew by that 30 minutes so fast that we ended up going live on the ride home for another 30 minutes and still barely just scratched the surface. It was just such an entanglement, and not a Will and Jada entanglement, just a whole entanglement. Yeah, it was a lot. But thank you again for sharing your story, Anna Lynn. And continue pushing forward with that. There's been a lot of growth for her. Also, this week, we had our daylight savings time that came up on the 12th. And then on the 13th, if you guys tuned in, you saw the live between Chastity and myself, which was only supposed to be an hour, but the conversation just got so good and carried away. We just had a ball. It ended up being a whole 4 hours. So I know, right? It was only supposed to be an hour, but she had a lot that she wanted to go through, and we took our time and went through it. So you can catch the live on IG. It's still posted. I am going to take it down. So if you haven't had an opportunity, you want to go ahead and check it out because it will not be up there much longer. But it was a really, really, really good conversation. And one thing, unfortunately, I don't like about IG is the fact that all of the questions that people put in, because there was over 200, almost 300 something odd, comments, questions that we went over, but the people that's watching it now, you don't actually get to see that. You just get to hear us kind of, go back and forth with that. So anyway, it's still really good content. I encourage you all to check it out. I do have another live coming up because I had so many women that were willing to participate in this conversation. Miss Angel Lash, we will be going live on IG. We were supposed to go on Facebook, but we're going to go on IG. We will be on IG on the 25th at 4. So be sure to check that out. I will make it my business to post some more information on that. I'm getting better, y'all. One day at a time. Take your time with me. I'm slowly emerging, okay? But we're going to go ahead and get into this week's episode. This woman is more than a mouthful. I need to find the things that she doesn't do, that she's not a part of, because the list is crazy long. This is the shortened version. First, she's from Texas. She is celebrating 39 years of marriage to her amazing husband. I had the opportunity to meet him tomorrow. And for fun, this is what she does for fun, right? This isn't even her full-time gig, what she started out as, what she went to school for. For fun, she's a paleontologist. How sick is that? She's a paleontologist. And when I met her and we had the conversation and she told me that, I'm like, oh my goodness, I love Bones. Like that was like my favorite show in the whole wide world. So to meet a paleontologist in real life was like, for me. Anyway, and she has 2 elderly cats. And that's the short, very, very super short, sweet version of this amazing woman that I am about to introduce to you guys. What I do want you to always keep in mind is that this conversation, make sure you are coming here with an open heart, an open mind, ready to receive a full transparency translation of whatever it is the guest and I are about to discuss. Give her the grace that you would want to be afforded to you when you decide to sit down and have your conversation with whomever you decide to have that with. And the uncomfortable conversation should relinquish any shame, guilt, in a tranquil place of emergence. So, without further ado, it is my pleasure to introduce Miss Misty Haji-Sheikh. Welcome to Uncomfortable Conversations.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. I'm super excited. And I don't know if you guys can see, move your mic over just a little bit, or if you slide over. She wore the most amazing butterfly today to support us. How cool is that? I don't know. Like, I don't think you can zoom in, but it's like made up of a bunch of different like gears, gemstones, different metals. It's super cool. I love it. I don't know where to get one, but if I see one, I'm so on it. So thank you for being here. Are you excited?
Yeah.
Are you a little nervous?
Yeah. Not really.
Good. I didn't think that you were. I don't know if we're going to get her to be really uncomfortable because she's been and done so many different things, but we are going to get into how awesome of a woman you are.
Oh dear.
Listen, you're a woman. That's the requirement right there. Just be a woman. Now you're awesome. Okay. So I've been starting this conversation off with define a woman for me. What is your definition? What do you think makes a woman?
Well, first of all, it has to do with biology.
Okay.
And not everybody is the same.
Mm-hmm.
You know, some of us we appear biologically women, and some of us do not. Some of us choose to be more woman than not. And that does not necessarily go with your DNA.
Okay.
So a woman could have started out differently with their genetics and still choose to be a woman. So first of all, it does start with the biology, but it also starts with, in some cases, it starts with people and their desires and how they see themselves. Now, I am biologically a woman, and I see myself as a woman.
Okay.
And a mother. I have 2 kids.
Okay.
And in defining a woman, it should incorporate all the type things that a woman could or would want to do, no matter what their biology.
Like what? What are some of the things that a woman could or would want to do when you define a woman? Like, how do you put that in place?
Okay. Some women, and I'm including anybody that identifies as a woman.
Right.
Some women choose to paint their fingernails, wear makeup. Some choose to be mothers. Some don't choose to be mothers and end up there. You know, it's sometimes easier to say what's not a woman than what is a woman. But
let's go down that road. So if that's easier, because sometimes it is to pull out the things that are not versus the things that are, because there's sometimes so many things that are, right? So give me some examples of some things that are not a woman.
Well, then it goes back to biology. And a lot of people identify others as male. For example, I'm married. I have a husband. He's male.
Okay.
And males genetically cannot bear children. You know, there are some biological things that you just can't get away from easily.
That would exclude you from being a woman?
You asked me what was a man.
No, I asked what were some of the things that excludes you from being a woman.
The biology.
The biology.
The biology.
Mm-hmm.
The biology would not exclude you from being a mother, but it might exclude you from having a biological kid. Might. Depends on who you are.
But you could still be a woman.
You sure could.
Okay.
I mean, I know people who are genetically male,
Right.
who cannot genetically have a kid. They could adopt, of course, and they could do surrogates and things. But they choose to be a woman because that's how they identify, and that's what makes them feel fulfilled.
Okay. So overall, you are accepting and open to receiving women or women, whatever shape, form, or facet they come in.
Of course. You should be who you are.
Absolutely. I like being me. I wouldn't want to be anybody else.
I want to tell you one thing, and this is something that I tell my kids.
Okay.
But I think it's something that really gets to the core of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell them, don't worry about what you cannot do. Worry about what you can do. Now think of that as a woman.
Okay, so a woman can do anything. I mean, that's my definition. Like, we can do any and everything. I know I can. I have no limits on myself. And I encourage other people to
But
release
think about it.
themselves as
People
well.
spend a lot of time worrying about all this stuff that maybe they can't do. Okay, so I've decided I'm not going to be a brain surgeon. Am I
Right.
going to spend time worrying about whether I went to school to be a brain surgeon? No. Somebody
No.
else can do that.
Absolutely. We don't want to worry about that.
No.
So let's get to what I think is the best part, the biological part of being a woman and how we get to identify, right? Is your vagina a power or a weapon?
A power or a weapon?
Yes.
Or
No, just a power or a weapon. Those are your options. You got to pick one.
Oh, I'd pick power.
Why?
Well, first of all, although I didn't put it on my CV, I am a martial artist. At least I used to study martial arts, and I know a lot about weapons. And I choose to use it as a power and not a weapon.
Keyword, you choose.
I choose.
I'm glad you choose that. Some people choose to use it as a weapon, and it's good that you don't. I mean, it depends on what I'm doing that day. Sometimes I think I want to use it as a weapon. Some days I want it to be my power. So I have the right to choose. And that's important. So give an example of you using your vagina as your power.
Back to biology. Biologically, I have 2 kids. It's great. And I think that gives me a lot of definition in the world as being a mother.
Right. That is a power.
It's a power.
That is exactly the same answer that we received the last episode. So, okay, I'll take it. But I'm letting you guys know the next guest is going to have to give me a different power.
Okay, so let me give you a different power.
Okay, give me a different power.
But it's not my vagina, it's my brain.
You have one of those? Get out of here. Women have more than just a vagina. I love it. We have brains.
We do.
Super brains.
We do.
Absolutely.
And I think we should celebrate women being women, however they identify. And I think we should bring each other up, not tear each other down. So you will not catch me going, oh, would you look at what she's wearing? I mean, might not be something I would wear, but I'm
so
not
you've
gonna...
never done that? Or when in life did you get to the point where you were like, okay, I'm not going to tear this person down. They have the right to wear whatever it is they want to wear.
I don't remember an exact date.
Well, I don't want the date, but I mean, like, where you weren't always thinking that, right?
Well, as a kid, you don't. As a kid, you do what's around you and what you've been taught and what you know, and that's all you know. But as you start getting out in the world and doing things, and it just was not comfortable to tear other people down. In fact, I used to tell my kids, don't watch these sitcom shows that tear each other down because that's not where I want you to be.
Right. That's almost all of them. So while we're talking about that, I guess this is a great segue into my next question, because you identify as what race?
I'm white.
White.
But I am married.
Don't steal my question. Don't come on here doing that. No. So you are a white woman from Texas, right?
Mm-hmm.
Red state.
It is.
And we all know what happens in Texas, sundown state, right?
Mm-hmm.
Born and raised, you were there, right?
Yep.
But your last name is Haji-Sheikh.
That's right.
How did we get there?
I married a guy I met in elementary school.
Haji-Sheikh
Yeah.
was
it's all his.
in your elementary school in Texas.
Yes. His
Please,
dad.
please share
Okay.
with the audience who or how Mr. Haji-Sheikh identifies.
Well, he is male and he's a father. And his dad is from Iran. His dad is absolutely brilliant. He's 89 years old and he just retired this year.
Awesome.
He teaches mechanical engineering at the he was teaching mechanical engineering at the University of Texas at Arlington. I was in Arlington, Texas. We went to the same elementary, junior high, high school,
I don't
and
want to know about
college.
that part. That part is good. But what I want to know about is the relationship. You met him in elementary school. You're a white woman in Texas. What was that like, you telling your parents you're going to date this guy who is obviously not white?
Well, my parents are both deceased, so I will not say much about their thinking,
Right.
but it was not the same as mine.
Okay.
I will tell you that one of the big influences on my life growing up as a little kid before we moved to Arlington, we had a maid, a full-time maid. And in Dallas back in those days, it wasn't like it is now.
Right.
And she was absolutely wonderful. And she allowed me to ask her questions about race,
So can you identify, like give us her identification, her race?
Oh, she was
was black. Okay.
She was black.
So you had these conversations with your maid that was a black woman.
Yes. But she did more raising than my mother did because my mother was kind of hands-off at the time.
Okay. Is there a reason why your mom was hands off? Was it just because she had a maid?
Yeah. And that was a thing in the 50s and early 60s.
Absolutely.
To have a maid.
It was a thing.
And
a lot of black women raising other people's children.
Her name was Betty, and Betty had 6 kids, but she actually asked my parents to name one of her kids. So it wasn't your normal relationship. But I think that goes to the heart of the question when you say, well, how did you get to this point? So by the time my husband and I started dating, now mind you, we had gone to all the same schools, we'd worked together, but he had finished his bachelor's. And so he already had an engineering degree. And when I brought him home, they were fine with it.
Your parents were fine with it because of the relationship that they had with their maid. Is that?
No, but you asked me how I got from point A to point B. And I think having early opportunities to ask about how do you identify, what is your race, why are you different from me, as a little kid, made a big difference on how I see the world.
Right.
Because someone sat down with me as many times as I asked a question and answered them.
The uncomfortable conversation, having that, having the ability to ask those questions.
Exactly.
To learn and see other people's perspectives versus the one that you maybe would have only seen in your household had you not had the black maid or been at a school that had a Mr. Haji-Sheikh. Haji-Sheikh in it.
Haji is the name that all Muslims are supposed to go to Mecca if you're able. And if you go there, you can use Haji in your name as a leader. They don't have a priest, they have an imam. But Sheikh is the leader of a tribe.
Right.
So it's roughly teacher and leader.
Got it. Thank you so much for sharing that. What was it like when you had your children? Were you guys still in Texas?
Yes.
What was it like for them growing up?
Well, when my kids were in 2nd and 4th grade, we moved to Illinois. So they weren't there a lot.
A long time.
But we were in a school in Richardson, Texas that spoke 39 different languages. The elementary school had people that spoke 39 different languages. I've always tried to be as inclusive as I can.
As possible. So culturally, obviously, the culture in Iran is very different from American culture, and especially if your husband was raised Muslim? No, just okay.
No, his dad was Muslim.
His dad
and
was
his
Muslim.
mom, who has passed away, as Catholic, but they had made the decision not to be practicing by the time they got married. So he was not
Wow.
raised in a strict religious upbringing on
Household.
either side.
I love that you brought that up and said that, because oftentimes we struggle with religion and race. Like, those are usually the two key factors in determining, well, I can't be with them. I'm Jewish, he's a Christian, and, it's just never going to work. Or there's always this conflict. So the fact that he was raised in a different household, a different household in the sense that religion was not a factor, I think made it even easier for him to gravitate towards you and have this relationship with you, because he already understood diversity within his household, and the same with you.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I think that speaks to understanding and communicating, and it's possible, right? Everything is possible if we take the time to look for understanding and have those conversations, which is really important.
Yeah, I look
Cool.
for things that get us closer, not things that push us apart. That's too easy. It's sometimes harder to do things. When I met you,
Right.
I was like, "Ooh, there's a cool person across the room. I want to go say
She's talking
hi."
about me. She was talking about me.
And then you come, but before I did that, you came and stood next to me. So there's something there.
Yeah, there was definitely something there. Yes. We were at Horsford's, right?
Congressman Horsford.
Congressman Horsford's fundraiser.
Mm-hmm.
So it was definitely interesting for me to see you in the room with him. But not only were you just there, you spoke.
Yes.
And had a lot of valid questions that didn't necessarily meet the narrative for you, that would promote you in any way. It would benefit people that look more like myself. So it was very interesting to see that. And I absolutely wanted to know, who is this woman? Who is she and why is she here?
We should say that Congressman Horsford is now the chair of the Black Caucus.
Absolutely.
And that is an amazing position.
We're not going to talk about him a whole lot, though, because he's not on my show. So when he comes here, then we'll talk about him and his Black Caucus, right?
That's fine. But the reason that I brought that up is because that's what people wanted to talk about. And yet I always want to know all kinds of other things. I am so full of questions.
Absolutely.
But I want to ask questions that move the conversation forward, or something that somebody else in the room would ask, but they were shy.
Absolutely. So I want to get into your hobby.
Okay.
For lack of a better word. I mentioned that you are a paleontologist, and we only have a few short minutes left.
Mm-hmm.
As a woman, did you find it difficult to get into the field or to just practice paleontologist? Paleontology. That's not the word that I want to say.
Paleontology.
Thank you. It wasn't coming out.
It's all right.
Paleontology.
My story is very different from everyone else's. I went to school in management, and I've done all kinds of other things. And one day my friend says, who is a biology and paleontology professor at Northern Illinois University, she says, "Hey, you want to go on a dig?" And I'm like, "Sure, I'll go play in the dirt. No problem. I can dig it." So we go out with a museum from Rockford, Burpee Museum, and we're digging in the dirt. Well, the first day, the first hour, they said, "Here is your tool. It's an air scribe, which is about the size of a highlighter, but it's like a mini air jack. And when you pull it across, you make a little scratch." We're digging up big sauropods, one little scratch at a time. Well, because of the environment we were in, you couldn't set it down because it would clog with dirt. So at some point, Virginia, my co-author now, she's the one that asked me, she hands me hers, and now I have two. Well, I happen to be ambidextrous. And
For those of you that don't know, that means she can use both hands equally, right?
Yes.
And left. Continue.
Yes. I'm thinking if I got this much off with one air scribe, I would get this much with two, right? And that's not how it worked. Because you set up a certain vibration, which I won't go into, and you get up to 1,000% more. And so the first thing that I did was we came back and I presented that at a conference, and then we wrote a paper on it and that sort of thing. And then my co-author, Virginia, she said, "Well, what next we should do is we should work on saber-toothed cats." And I said, "Okay." And COVID hit. We couldn't go anywhere.
So because we're about to run out of time, for time's sake, You didn't go to school to be a paleontologist.
I did not.
You just stumbled upon it,
Mm-hmm.
loved it, enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
Now you have an exhibit somewhere, like the saber-toothed tigers that you
Well,
speak on in different places.
Yes. I was going to say, during COVID, we couldn't go to a museum. We couldn't dig. So I bought a cast, a model of it, and set it on my kitchen table. And in looking at it for months, I realized what was wrong with it. And that's where I've been going ever since, is the teeth are all wrong. And so I will be going toward the end of this month to Washington, D.C., to the anatomy conference to be presenting work on a couple of the Smilodon skulls, the saber-toothed cat skulls from La Brea, the tar pits in Los Angeles, and why what everybody thinks it should look like, and it doesn't.
Awesome. She just stumbled upon being a paleontologist.
Exactly.
So you guys can go out on a dig at any point in time. Also, have some really uncomfortable conversations. Don't be afraid to mix, mingle, merge. Get an understanding of the people that are around you or may not be around you. If you want to travel, get a pen pal. Pen pal was a big thing in my age. Look, in my day when I was in school, we had pen pals. So just learn something about somebody else. Don't be afraid to intermingle with other people, because you never know what can come from it. Don't just automatically look at someone and say, there's a white person in the room, or there's a black person in the room. Let me go the other way. Take the time, the opportunity to get to know someone, learn a little bit about them, and you might learn something about yourself as well. Uncomfortable conversations will take you very, very far in life. You might end up, having a hobby as a paleontologist. Who knows? I want to thank my guest, Miss Misty. I know it was a short time, but it was good for me. This was a very personal interview. Like I said, she's a paleontologist. What could be better in life? So thank you so much for joining me here on Uncomfortable Conversations. You guys make sure you check me out on the 25th with Miss Angel Lash. We will be back next week. Same time, same place. I actually have one of my favorite special guests, Brittany Soul. Yay! It's going to be here. We're going to have a little spoken word, some great uncomfortable conversations about love, because that's her favorite topic. And that's all I have.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. See you next Thursday, Vegas Hype Media Live.